KCC311. My name is Professor Johnson. I'll be the professor for the term. Welcome to class. First week, first video. We're talking about the types of variables we will be seeing in our class. If you're thinking about variables, thinking about your old math classes, your solve for X, solve for Y, all that sort of thing, guess what? That's not what we're dealing with. Good news, perhaps. We're going to be talking about big data, so we're going to be talking about data items that can take on multiple values. We'll be talking about what we're measuring in a data set. In particular, I got an example here in the background. Maybe I'm measuring the year. Maybe I'm measuring the country that I'm talking about. These numbers, I don't know if that's an ID number or something, but what am I measuring? That's what a variable is. Let's look at a real-life example. In particular, we're talking about sports. We're deep in the wintertime here. Sure, hockey. Chicago's a hockey town. We got the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't know much about hockey, but I know that's the team here, and I know I can find data on the Blackhawks online. Wait a minute, I'm not just going to stick these numbers at you and say, hey, believe me. I'm going to tell you, describe that data set, and I'm also going to give you a source. This is a good representation of the data. In this data, we have a lot of variables. Let's start talking about them. Right down the line here, these numbers, we are looking at 20 different data points. Or we could say 20 observations, or if you want to sound sort of mathematical, we'd say n equals 20. So first of all, before we even talk about variables, make sure you know how much data. In this case, 20 data points. Then, once we start to look across the top, we are seeing the variables, all the different data points that I'm measuring, all the different types of data that I'm measuring. Let's look at this specifically. What types of data are in the top here? Over here to the side, I see a lot of numbers. Well, numbers we can call quantitative data. That's the very first, most basic type of data, and that means that these measurements up at the top, if you're a hockey person, you probably can decode all of that. We'd call those quantitative variables. Something like this. These are names. That's descriptions. That's qualitative. I'm describing the teams I'm playing. That means the opponent is a qualitative variable. Other examples, more real life, maybe the color of eyes. If we talk about different people, what color eyes do they have? If you weren't running a hotel, do you have a single room or a double room? Qualitative variables. So right now I've described the two main types of data. Numbers, quantitative. Descriptions, qualitative. Let's look at them in more depth. In particular, right here. Wait a minute, those are like numbers, right? I see numbers, but common sense tells me those time. You want to sound fancy, we're going to call it temporal data. So that's another type of data. Now, temporal actually could be related to both types. We just saw that temporal data, time is numbers, but it could also be a description like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You get the idea. Let's look at another type of data. Those little @ symbols tell me where the game is being played. Wait, where? That's geography. Well, in geography, I could also represent it, something like this. Zip codes. Zip codes is geography, is numbers. So I could describe numbers. I could describe geography with a name, and I could also describe it with numbers. What's that mean? Geographical data can be quantitative or it can be qualitative. You see what's going on here. Data gets very complex, lots of different relationships between the data. Let's look at one more other type of data. Win or loss. That's an either or type of thing. Male, female, win or loss. Look down here. That's how many people showed up to the game. It could be over 20,000 or it could be under 20,000. Once again, that's either or. So in other words, categorical data, this either or type of data, categorical could be description, male, female, win, loss, and it could be numerical like over or under 20,000. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. In particular, I'm going to just erase the qualitative right now and look at these three subcategories: quantitative, temporal, geographical, and categorical data. And you saw the complex relationships between all of those. And that's what we're going to focus on in week one's assignment. So you're going to check there's a brief quiz here. You're going to go for it. Look at quantitative, numbers. Look at temporal data, the times. Look at geographical data, where things happen. And also look at categorical, win, loss, over or under 20,000. Those types of data, there's a brief quiz, and you can take it up to 3 times for week number 1. Please finish that up before you get to the week 1 assignment. Any questions? You can reach out via email.